The border problem is one of the most complicated, contentious, and emotionally charged topics of our day. It's not just a headline or a political talking point, it's a very human narrative with millions of lives, innumerable challenges, and major moral security and policy problems. However, most of the discussions around it is oversimplified or completely misinterpreted. Today, we want to go beyond the bluster and reveal the underlying narrative of the border issue. What does it truly mean for those leaving their homes, the communities on the front lines, and the countries dealing with the consequences? In this video, we will look at 5 aspects of the border crisis that reveal its true depth and complexity: human trafficking and smuggling networks, overcrowded border facilities, the strain on local communities, and the national security concerns associated with porous borders. These issues are interrelated, often feeling one another, and this need more than easy remedies or political sound bites. We will also consider possible next steps, with an emphasis on realistic, humane, and long-term solutions to these difficulties. By the conclusion of this video, you will have a better grasp of the difficulties as well as a fresh feeling of optimism that solutions are possible. Let's start by shedding light on one of the most pernicious aspects of the border crisis: human trafficking and smuggling rings. These networks are not just opportunistic, they are well organized, highly successful businesses that fed on human sufferings. Migrants, frequently escaping severe poverty, war, and political upheaval, rely on these networks out of the pure desperation. What they don't realize is that the promise of safe passage often comes at a high cost: financial exploitation, physical assault, and even murder. For example, smugglers can charge thousands of dollars per person, a fortune for families that sell all the possessions to make the trek. However, the service they get is far from compassionate. Migrants are packed into unventilated vehicles, pushed to travel deserts with enough water, or abandoned by their escorts in the middle of nowhere. Women and children are especially susceptible, with many becoming victims of forced labor or sexual exploitation along the journey. The influence of these networks go beyond particular disasters. Smuggling activities often support bigger criminal organizations, such as drug cartels and organized crime groups. These foster cycles of violence and instability not just along borders, but also in migrants' home countries. For example, cartel utilize smuggling revenues to fund violence actions, perpetuating a vicious cycle of misery. So, what can be done? The battle against human trafficking and smuggling demands international cooperation. Governments must prioritize intelligence exchange to detect and disrupt these networks. Law enforcement agencies need more resources and specialized training to fight trafficking while safeguarding victims. Public awareness efforts may help prospective migrants understand the danger of smuggling and the symptoms of trafficking. But perhaps more significantly, we must address the core factors that drive people to run in the first place: poverty, violence, and a lack of opportunities. By developing safer legal migrants' paths, we can reduce the needs for smugglers and allow individuals to seek a better life without risking everything. For many migrants, crossing the border is only the start of another traumatic adventure. U.S. Custom and Border Protection (CBP) facilities are overburdened by the sheer number of persons requesting entrance. These facilities, which were originally meant to accommodate small groups for short periods, are currently overcrowded. Families are forced to share tiny living spaces, children sleep on freezing floors, and essentials such as food, water, and medical care are scarce. Overcrowding is more than simply a logistical issue. It is a humanitarian calamity. Disease outbreaks are prevalent, with elements such as the flu, scabies, and respiratory infections spreading quickly in filthy environments. This psychological impact is terrible. Imagine surviving in risky voyage only to find yourself and your children in what resemble in jail facility with no set release dates. This congestion also has an impact on the whole immigration system. With limited capacity, CBP is compelled to release some migrants into local communities, which often lack of means to sustain them. The increases public discontent and political reactions, making it even more difficult to develop long-term solutions. What is the answer? In near term, governments must invest in emergency solutions such as mobile units and temporary shelters to alleviate congestions. Partnership with non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and international organizations may also be quite beneficial. Long-term remedies, including modernizing existing facilities, boosting the workforce, and reducing case processing times to alleviate bottlenecks. However, the ultimate objective should be avoid overpopulation in the first place by addressing the issues that drive mass migrations and developing more effective, compassionate methods for the process's arrivals. While the national discourse centers on government policy, local communities suffer the brunt of border problem. Towns and communities along the border cannot often manage rapid increases in migrant populations. Hospitals are overcrowded. Schools are struggling to accommodate extra pupils, and shelters have run out of rooms. These difficulties put tremendous pressure on local governments and breed animosity among citizens. Consider a tiny border town with inefficient medical services. When hundreds of migrants arrive in need of emergency care, the local hospital rapidly becomes overloaded, delaying treatments for both migrants and locals. Schools confront comparable issues with overcrowded classes and staff unable to meet the special requirements of migrant children, many of whom come with no formal education or language competence. These pressures can cause confrontation between migrants and local inhabitants. Some blame immigration for resource scarcity, while others see the problem as a failure by the federal and state governments to give enough assistance. This dynamic exacerbates xenophobia and political polarization, making it difficult to reach the consensus required for successful remedies. Collaboration and resource distribution are critical for reducing tensions. The federal and state governments must step up and give emergency financing for healthcare, education, and housing in labor towns. Local leaders should try to improve understanding between inhabitants and migrants by emphasizing common humanity and mutual advantages. For example, initiatives that integrate migrants into the local workforce may assist fill labor shortages and stimulate the economy, transforming a perceived burden into an opportunity. Asylum laws are designed to offer a haven for persons escaping persecution, but their abuse and misinterpretation have produced considerable problems. Many migrants, misled by traffickers and disinformation, feel that crossing the border illegally increases their chances of remaining. Others fail to submit the required documents to back up their claims, resulting in long delays and outright rejection. As a consequence, the immigrant court system is experiencing a backlog that may cause cases to be delayed for years. Families are still in limbo, unable to work legally, register their children in school, or get health care. This uncertainty has a negative impact not just on migrants, but also on communities in which they live. To combat this, we need a multifaceted strategy. Outreach programs in migrants' home countries may give reliable information about legal options and the asylum procedure. Legitimate asylum applicants may benefit from a simplified application procedure and legal supports. At the same time, governments must invest in additional immigration judges and caseworkers to reduce backlogs and ensure prompt judgments. Consider a system in which asylum applicants obtain prompt, impartial rulings, enabling those with legitimate claims to begin rebuilding their lives while deterring abuse. This would assist not just migrants, but also the whole immigrant system, lowering pressure and rebuilding public confidence. When we think about border security, it's tempting to concentrate primarily on tales of families seeking refuge or political battles over immigration legislation. Another important part of the border situation is national security. While the great majority of migrants crossing the border to the United States are escaping violence, poverty, and persecution, criminal organizations, smugglers, and other negative actors may take advantage of the system's weaknesses. The plain reality is that the border's porous character creates security issues, which must be addressed without resorting to fear-driven, one-size-fits-all solutions. On the one hand, we must recognize the rising alarm about drugs cartels. These gangs have long used vulnerabilities in border security to smuggle fentanyl, cocaine, and methamphetamine into United States that employ people smuggling as a cover for carrying illegal drugs, often concealing them inside cars or even in migrants' clothing. The surge in opioid-related fatalities, notably from fentanyl, demonstrate how these activities are directly contributing to a severe public health problem. But it's not only narcotics that represents a problem. There are also worries about how prospects of other criminal activities such as weapons and people trafficking, as well as terrorists seeking to utilize the chaotic migratory routes for nefarious objectives. While the vast majority of migrants are not criminals seeking simply protection, national security concerns exist, and we must take proper precaution to safeguard civilians from exploitation by criminal groups. However, it is important to remember that guarding the border does not have conflicts with assisting people in need. The answer to resolving national security issues without jeopardizing the humanitarian side of immigration is to implement clever, tailored policies that improve security without sacrificing compassion. One of the most powerful instruments in this strategy is technology. Drones, infrared sensors, and AI-based surveillance systems may help border police discover and intercept illegal activity without militarizing the frontier or infringing on the rights of law, abiding migrants. These technologies provide real-time surveillance, giving agents critical information to prevent criminal conduct before it escalates. We can increase efficiency and security by embracing technology rather than implementing damaging, sweeping policies that injures innocent families and people. Further, increased international collaboration is required. Many criminal networks that take advantage of border loopholes do not function in isolation. Drug cartels and traffickers often have cross-border links, necessitating is coordinated response to the problem. Governments in the United States, Mexico, and other nations must cooperate to share information and develop border enforcement methods. This improves the effectiveness of operations against smuggling rings and trafficking networks, while also reducing the possibility for criminals to exploit security holes. However, National security involves more than simply halting unlawful activities. It also includes guaranteeing the protection of persons in vulnerable situations. By strengthening the system in integrity, we can distinguish between those requesting refuge for genuine reasons and those trying to abuse it for nefarious objectives. This enables law enforcement to concentrate their efforts on pursuing dangerous offenders while treating people escaping violence with decency and respect. It is also critical to acknowledge the human elements of border security. Every individual crossing the border is not a danger. Labeling all migrants as possible criminals breeds division and distrust. When we adopt a balanced approach to border security, we enhance the system while maintaining its essential ideals of compassion and protection. We can defend both national security and vulnerable people's rights by developing effective policies, preparing strategically, and implementing them carefully. This topic revolves around the needs for public education and improved communication. The more people realize that successful border security involves avoiding damage to both Americans and migrants, the less likely we're to engage in fear-mongering language. By focusing on educated debates and policy situations that address security difficulties without demonizing immigrants, we may bridge the gap between national security concerns and human compassion. The border crisis is a complicated situation with far-reaching ramifications. It's not only about security, migration, or politics. It's about people. Each migrant has a narrative, and every policy affects someone's life. Today, we examine 5 fundamental problems at the heart of the border crisis: human trafficking and smuggling networks, overcrowded facilities, pressure on local communities, abuse and misunderstanding of asylum procedures, and national security concerns. Each of these concerns is significant in its own rights, but they are also linked, necessitating subtle, complete answers. We've learned that this problem cannot be addressed fast, and it definitely cannot be handled with simple answers. It's a situation that demands smart, compassionate, and multifaceted solutions. Solutions that include the human dignity of migrants, people's genuine security concerns, and the significance of following the law. The good news is that although the issues are complicated, solutions are not beyond grasp. We can achieve meaningful progress by using smart technology, international collaborations, compassionate treatments, and a dedication to tackling core issues. However, these solutions are not limited to governments or Border Patrol officials. They are with all of us. Each of us has a part in resolving the border situation, whether it's supporting projects that offer resources to overburden local communities, educating people on the reality of asylum law, or lobbying for wiser, more humane border security measures. We all can influence change. We must hold ourselves responsible, challenge damaging myths, and advocate for policies that prioritize national security and human rights. If this video has provided you with new ideas, better knowledge, or motivate you to take action, please give a thumbs up and share it with people around you. These challenges are not going away. Therefore, we must continue to deal with them in a serious, educated manner. Subscribe to our channel for more material like this as we investigate crucial problems affecting our world today. Please share your ideas, comments, and questions below. What do you believe is the most serious problem with the border crisis? Are there any particular topics you'd like us to go further into? Let us continue the discourse and work together to find better answers. Remember that true changes occurs when we educate ourselves, empathize with others, and take collective action. The journey ahead may be long, but we can do it together. Thank you for joining me in today's discussions about the border crisis. Let us remain educated, compassionate, and optimistic. Until next time, take care and continue to examine the world around you.